The kitchen clock ticked like a heartbeat, each second slicing into the silence that hung between us. I stood at the sink, hands trembling as I scrubbed a plate already clean, the sponge's rough texture grating against my skin. Across the room, my husband, Tom, laughed into his phone, his voice low, intimate, like he was sharing a secret with someone who wasn't me. The sound clawed at my chest. A dull ache that had been growing for weeks, maybe months. I didn't want to believe it, but the truth was there, sharp as the knife on the counter. He was slipping away, and I was too afraid to ask where he was going. It started with a joke, of all things. At the neighborhood barbecue last month, under the glow of string lights and the hum of cicadas, our neighbor Lila had tossed her head back, her laugh like wind chimes, and said, "Who wants to trade my husband? I'm taking offers." The crowd chuckled, but when I joined in, teasing, "Oh, I'll put Tom up for grabs," Lila's eyes locked onto mine. "I'll take him," she said, her voice playful but her gaze steady, like she'd meant it more than she let on. Tom had blushed, waved it off, but I saw the way his fingers lingered on his beer bottle, the way Lila's smile lingered on him. I laughed it off, too, but the moment stuck, a splinter under my skin. Now, in our quiet kitchen, that splinter festered. I set the plate down, the clink against the counter too loud in the stillness. Tom glanced up, his hazel eyes catching the light. And for a second, I saw the man I married, boyish, warm, the one who'd dance with me in this very kitchen to no music at all. But then his phone buzzed, and his face changed, a flicker of something, guilt? Excitement? Before he turned away, typing quickly. "Who's that?" I asked, my voice tighter than I meant it to be. "Just work," he said, too fast, not looking up. The lie hung in the air, heavy as the scent of dish soap. Work didn't make him smile like that. Work didn't make him angle his phone away from me. I wanted to scream, to demand the truth, but fear glued my tongue to the roof of my mouth. What if I was wrong? What if I was just paranoid, seeing shadows where there was only light? The signs had been there, though, hadn't they? Subtle at first, like cracks in a picture frame you don't notice until the glass shatters. He'd started staying late at the office, claiming deadlines, but his briefcase came home untouched, no papers creased or pens uncapped. He'd bought new cologne, a sharp, musky scent that felt like it belonged to someone else. And then there was Lila, always Lila. At the grocery store, she'd linger too long by the produce, asking Tom about his day while her fingers brushed his arm. I told myself it was nothing, that she was just friendly, that I was being insecure. But doubt is a slow poison, and I was drowning in it. That night, I couldn't sleep. The bedroom was too warm, the sheets clinging to my skin like damp regret. Tom's breathing was steady beside me, but his phone sat on the nightstand, glowing faintly with a new message. My heart pounded, a drumbeat of dread. I reached for it, my fingers hovering over the screen. This was the line. Once I crossed it, there was no going back. But the not knowing was worse, a gnawing ache that ate away at my sanity. I typed in his passcode, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. The messages opened, and there it was. Lila's name, a string of texts stretching back weeks. My eyes blurred as I scrolled, each word a fresh cut. "Miss you already," she'd written last night. "Can't wait to see you," he'd replied. My stomach churned, while rising in my throat. There were no explicit confessions, no blatant admissions, but the intimacy was undeniable. Pet names, inside jokes, plans to meet at a cafe I'd never heard of. I wanted to believe it was innocent, but the truth screamed louder than my denial. I set the phone down, my hands cold, my chest hollow. The room spun, the shadows on the ceiling twisting into shapes of betrayal. How long had this been going on? Had he touched her? Kissed her? Loved her? The questions clawed at me, each one sharper than the last. I thought of our wedding day, his vows whispered under an oak tree, promising forever. I thought of the life we'd built, our home, our routines, the quiet moments that felt like love. Had it all been a lie? The next morning, I watched him over breakfast, searching for the man I thought I knew. He was humming, pouring coffee, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. "You're quiet," he said, his voice casual, but I caught the flicker of unease in his eyes. Did he know I knew? Or was he just afraid I might? "Lila seems nice," I said, testing the waters, my voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. His hand paused, the coffee mug halfway to his lips. Yeah, she's friendly, he said, his tone careful, like he was stepping around broken glass. The air thickened, charged with unspoken truths. I could have confronted him then, let the anger spill out, but something held me back. Maybe it was fear of the answer, or maybe it was the part of me that still loved him, that wanted to believe we could fix this. Instead, I smiled, a brittle thing that hurt to wear. She's lucky to have a friend like you, I said, and the words tasted like ash. The days that followed were a slow unraveling. I became a detective in my own life, noticing every glance, every excuse. I saw Lila's car parked near his office one evening, her silhouette unmistakable in the driver's seat. I heard him whisper her name in his sleep, a soft, tender sound that broke something inside me. Each discovery was a brick in a wall I couldn't climb. And yet I kept looking, kept hoping I'd find a reason to doubt my doubts. The breaking point came at another neighborhood gathering, the air thick with the scent of grilled meat and summer heat. Lila was there, her laughter cutting through the chatter, her eyes finding Tom's too often. I watched them from across the yard, my heart a clenched fist. When she touched his arm, lingering just a second too long, I felt the world tilt. I marched over, my pulse roaring in my ears, and said, "Lila, can I borrow Tom for a minute?" My voice was calm, but my eyes burned with everything I hadn't said. In the shadowed corner of the yard, I faced him. "Tell me the truth," I said, my voice low, trembling. "Are you in love with her?" His face crumpled, guilt written in every line. He didn't deny it, didn't deflect. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he whispered, and the words were a blade, slicing through the last threads of hope. "It's not what you think, but I feel something. I don't know what to do." I stood there, frozen, as the world I'd known collapsed. The man I loved, the life I'd trusted, was a house of cards, and Lila had been the wind that knocked it down. But as I looked at him, tears in his eyes, I saw not just a betrayer but a man torn apart by his own choices. I hated him, and I loved him, and the two truths tore me in half. I turned away, the party's noise fading into a dull hum. In that moment, I didn't know if I'd leave him or fight for him, but one thing was clear. The crack in our frame was irreparable, and whatever came next would be built on the ruins of what we'd lost.